Hello, my name is Brian Ferris, and I am an instructor here at Solus Financial. And in the video clip that follows this, we're going to briefly explain to you how you can be financially independent and very wealthy. And I know that sounds weird. You've heard it from several people, but we have a system that will make you very successful. But you'll have to have the discipline and you will have to focus on what we teach you. But it basically, we're going to teach you what they didn't teach you in school about life and how to make money. And that's the whole idea for the video that you're about to see and the smaller and shorter videos that will explain in depth exactly what we're trying to put through. So enjoy, pay attention, and be ready to make money. Well, welcome. Welcome. As I said in the introduction, we're going to teach you all the situations that you need to make money and to be successful, to be a possible billionaire, but for sure a millionaire. And we're going to teach you all these things you need to know. So, what I want you to do is we're going to go slide to slide. I want you to really study the slide itself, and it'll kind of explain a lot. I'm just going to do some basic explaining, and let's go ahead and get this thing started. So why didn't they teach you in school? Well, here's why. Five mindset shifts to escape the system. The missing lessons. How money works. Real world skills. The system. How to fix the system. By the time the whole video series is over, you're going to know how to do all these things and you're going to have the tools to make so much money you're not going to be able to believe it. You're not going to be this, you're going to be above the system, and that's what we want you to be. So the first lesson is the missing lessons. So I'm going to let you read these on the there's five of them. And basically, what it says is what they teach you in school, the same boring stuff that has nothing to do with life after college or life after high school. And don't blame your instructors. They weren't taught properly either. They were taught a basic curriculum and they have to stick to that. But we're going to change all of that. We're going to teach you things that are going to make you a lot of money. Why do schools teach us to get jobs but not build wealth? Well, that's been kind of, and like I said, read what's on the screen. Basically, over 150 years, the Industrial Revolution, people learned to go to college. They learned how to get jobs and to work for a living and to pay taxes and die. That's basically what old school was all about. There are changes occurring now in the more technological era, but as you can see, industrial roots, predictable paths, promote stability, lack of financial education. We're going to give you all the financial education you need. We're going to drill it into your mind to be successful. Economic control, the workforce. The government wants you to work. They want to control you. That's a socialist communistic state. That's not what democracy is about here in the United States. But you go to the Soviet, or you go to Russia, China, Cuba, that's what they practice. That's not what we want. We want money. We want the opportunity to make a lot of money. And then, of course, in cultural situations, society often glorifies titles. So, in other words, I'm the president of IBM. Okay, big deal. You got a title and you're making money. But you know what? We're going to teach you to be IBM. You're the one going to be the top dog. Forget the title. We want the money. That's what we're all about. How money works. What's the difference between assets and liability? Well, as you see on the screen, asset. An asset is basically something that is making you money or something that you have is worth money that you can generate to borrow or to sell to get more to make more money. like real estate. It's one of the best assets to have because if you have a $300,000 home, you've made 200,000 in payments, and you only owe 100,000 on that home. Well, you can basically borrow $200,000 if you want to open a business. There's so many things we're going to teach you, and this is just minor stuff. So as you can see, bad liabilities are stuff that pays out but doesn't come in, and it's just called debt. Car loans, student loans. Student loans are something you cannot get around. You're going to have to pay those back. That's just the way the government works. They will find a way to get their money from you. So just read that for a second, and now we'll go on to what is cash flow? Why does it matter more than income? Cash flow gives you the ability, and I want you to read what's on the screen. It gives you the ability to control your money situations. With the more money flow you have, allows you to do more things to create more money for yourself, but to also buy the things you need. In other words, you want to invest as much money as you can back into your business to make it even bigger to where you can make even more money. So look at earned income. That's basically money you make from your job, your salary, wages or tips. Passive income is money that comes in automatically. If you own a house and people are paying rent, they can pay rent and everything is good. Portfolio is just basically your investment stocks, crypto, real estate. It appreciates. Appreciation is upward. Depreciation means downward. We want appreciation. That's all we teach here. Now study the board right here, the EBSI, and it'll kind of explain to you how the system really works. And income is potential, cash flow is reality. We always deal in reality here. We don't believe in potential or any negative vibes. We want positive vibes. We want positive people to learn our system and how it goes. Good cash flow lets you reinvest, pay off debt if you have any, and grow wealth. If you don't have any debt and you just have positive money coming in, you're on the easy street, and that's what we want you to be. Now, here's a quote from a famous book by Robert Kiyosaki. Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. In short, meaning that the middle class doesn't understand, or the poor don't understand really what a liability and an asset is. They're not taught that in school, and that's a drawback. Now, compound interest, there used to be an old saying back when I was a kid. It says, put your money in the bank and you'll get that compounded interest daily. And what it is it's money on top of itself. So unlike if you put $1,000 in and you make 5% a year or a month or whatever, compounded means that that 5% is added in, then the next 5% is added on top of that. And it's just that interest keeps adding on with the principal. And the next thing you know, over 20, 30 years, you'd be surprised how much that interest accumulated on itself. So that's one of the things that helps make you money. And as you add money to the principal, then that interest rate, it's a crazy system. We're going to teach you everything you need to know of symbolizing all of this complicated crap that you did not learn in school. Why build so well so fast? Well, there you go. There's a prime example. $1,000 at 10% a year in 17 years, over 30 years, you acquire $17,000. That's compounded interest day, over that period of time. And surprisingly, most people get mortgages to buy homes over a 30-year mortgage at a certain percentage rate. So, in a sense, this could be what people end up paying up and over the principal for a house. The earlier you start to invest to become rich. I want high schoolers. That's who I want to get to right now. I want you're a junior in high school. I want to start teaching you these basic subjects and get you teaching young to where, hey, you might get to the point to where you don't need college, that you've learned enough through this video system that you can go ahead and take that and start making your progress to millions and billions. And I know that sounds weird, and you're probably thinking, what's this guy talking about? But everything is potential, everything. And you just got to know, have the right tools to be able to understand what it's about. And they won't teach it to you in school. Good debt versus bad debt. I'm sure you probably heard your parents talking about good and bad debt. Oh, honey, we don't have the money to pay this or that. And that's a common thing in life. That's American policy. You get into debt, you live your life, pay your taxes, and die. That's basically how it used to be, and still is in some ways. But you know what? We're going to teach you not to do that. We're going to teach you the good debt is what you see on the left-hand side of the screen. Student loans do sometimes bring higher earning skills, but that's only about that, believe it or not, 10%. I can't tell you how many college students I've talked to that actually have jobs that had nothing to do with their major in school. That's not good. So you can see on the right of the bad credit card debt, car loans, payday loans. I will 100% never get a payday loan. Never do that. They're scams, and they're not worth it. I'd rather go without than have to borrow $100 and pay back 200. Not going to work. Now, here's the most important things that we're going to start covering when the lessons begin. And these are the four things you have not been taught. What are taxes and how do they really work? Weren't taught in school. How should you budget and track your money in the real world? Wasn't taught in school. How do you do credit cards and credit scores? Wasn't taught in school. What's the difference between saving and investing and when you do each? Wasn't taught in school and won't be taught in school unless somebody comes up with a class and does that, and they're not going to do it because it's not variable for the way the government wants you to be. What are taxes and how do they really work? Well, basically, you see it, and if you're a junior in high school, you might be working right now. You might be working at a McDonald's, a Burger King, and you get a paycheck. And if you look on your paycheck, you'll see these deductions. Some of it is federal tax from the government. It could be state tax, Medicare, and Social Security. These are all deducted from whatever wage you're promised. And that's usually used by the government to roads, schools, so on and so forth, the military. It's like a membership fee for living in a country that uses this system, just like it says on the slide. How taxes really work. Study this real carefully because it kind of breaks down exactly what it's all about and how taxes run the country and the different types of taxes. You got the income tax, that's money that you earn. Sales tax, that's what you like. If you go to the store and buy something, that'll either go to the state or a city. Property tax on land or real estate that you own, that's just depending on the state, it could be more or less. Capital gains tax is basically what you earn, like investing in stocks, house, whatever. It's money earned over what you invested. And then, of course, payroll taxes, like I said, Social Security and Medicare. Social Security in this is like when you retire at 65, the government will subsidize you money back from the money you paid in so that you can live. But we don't want that for you. We don't want you to rely on Social Security and Medicare. We want you to be millionaires. We want you to be billionaires. We want you to be financially free. That's our goal, to teach you to be that. And the real secret, you've heard it before. Do the wealthy pay taxes? Oh, yes, they do. They pay big taxes. You may not think so, but taxes are based on the amount of money you make. And it can be anywhere from 5, 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40, 50% of what you earn. Now, the wealthy can use tax deductions and cut it down. But even if they cut it down to 15%, if they make $1 million, they're still going to have to pay 15% of that in taxes. Whereas if you base it, the middle class or the poor can sometimes pay up to 30% of their income. But do the math. Paying 15% of $1 million is a lot more than 30% of a lower income rate. So yes, the rich do pay their taxes. Don't let anybody tell you they don't. Um, so that covers that part. But like I said, you're getting overwhelmed, I'm sure, wondering, my goodness, no wonder they don't teach us this. Look how complicated it is. It's not complicated, guys and gals. It's very easy. Uh, we've come up with a system that'll make it really easy. I've come up with a personal system that could guarantee you a line of credit in 400 to 600,000 in 4 to 6 years. And here's how credit cards work. Here's what they don't teach you. Okay, you borrow money for a short term. If you don't pay the full amount and you pay the basic amount, you're going to get charged an interest on it. And if that interest will compound on itself, if you pay it all off, then you won't have that interest. It's important to always never fall behind, because see on the right, you have the credit score, 300 to 850. That's how they base your credit and how much money you can actually borrow. We're going to teach you to be that 850. That's AAA credit. And what that means is you can borrow up to $400,000 to $600,000. I'm going to teach you to do that. You just got to follow and have discipline. Discipline is the most important thing to making millions of dollars. And like I said, credit scores are based on the things you see on there. And I guarantee you, you won't have with us, you won't have to worry about uh, that. Uh, Now, how to budget and track money. Well, what you do every day is depending on what you do. Um, like if you spend money on 4 items, let's say, and what happens is you go to your bank account, you look at your bank statement, and you want to make sure that those 4 items are on your bank statement. If there's anything else added to it, something's not right. That means somebody has hacked your card or whatever, and you need to change it. And what the scam is, what they'll do, they'll take $4 or $5 out a week, small amount. And if you're not paying attention to your bank account, that'll add up at the end of the year. Important. We will teach you what you need to make sure that these scams don't happen. Follow the 50-30-20 rule. 50% needs. You know the difference between a need and a want. A want is something you want. A need is something you need. You need to buy what you need. Cut back on your wants. Your wants will come later when you're a millionaire, when you're a billionaire. Okay. Take that 20% savings on the wants and put it into your savings and investing. Do that. It's important. The more money you can put in your investing, the more money you're going to make quicker. Pay yourself first and use separate accounts. Get you a secured credit card where you put money on it. Use that for a lot of things that you might not feel comfortable with. If somebody is trying to sell you something or a deal or whatever, and you say, okay, you give them that secured card, the money you put on there, so that they can't take any more than what's on the card. Well, if they tell you, oh, well, we need a debit card or a credit card, then you tell them to take a flying leap and end the conversation right there because it's a scam. What's the difference between saving and investing? There you go. Saving basically is a nice thing, but it doesn't hedge when it comes to inflation and other things. The best thing to do is to invest your money. Invest all of your free money into stocks or property. And like I said, we will teach you how to do all these things you see on this board, on this slide. And I believe me, you're thinking it's very complicated. It is not complicated, guys and gals. It's very easy to do. We've made it to where it's a simple thing and you will enjoy it. Okay, we talk about the system. Is the system designed to keep people working for money? Up to about 5 years ago, yes. But now it's changing. It's getting worse, much worse than what it used to be, because now you have what's called AI. People are building robots to take the place of human beings. Can you imagine if they build a robot that can do the work of 2 humans? What happens to those 2 humans that you don't need anymore that the robot replaced? What are they going to do? They're not going to be able to work in the high class jobs that they have. So now they got to take cheaper jobs, but they're living an expensive lifestyle. Now all of a sudden everything goes awry. Well, we're going to teach you to where you don't have to depend. You're the one that's going to own the robot that's going to put those people out of work. We want you to be the wealthy. We want you to be the ones on the right side of that. The system versus financial freedom. The system says work, pay taxes, and die. We say invest, cash flow, and live. So you can see here on there, there's 7 things here. Study those. We will go into depth on those things over a period of time when our videos, and we will break down in simple terms what each one of these things mean and what can happen. We always, the whole key is to make your money work for itself. Keep that money flowing, keep that money working. Now, why do rich people get richer in recessions? Simple. When inflation hits, if you've got a positive cash flow coming and you got plenty of cash reserves, you can absorb the hit, whereas the middle class and poor can't. And this is where working a cheap job can sometimes be a very bad thing. We don't want you working that cheap job. We want you up in that upper epsilon. We want you up there where the rich is so that you don't have to worry about that. Oh, well, I'm paying 50 cents more for that product I paid $1 for. Okay, I can do that. So what? Doesn't bother me. Rules of money the rich know. And here again, 7 things. Money is a tool. Own assets. We talk about assets. Taxes reward ownership. The rich legal write-offs. That's simple. They're not cheating anybody. They're just using the system that allows them to do that. Good debt builds wealth. Borrowing, as long as you do it to acquire assets, not liabilities. Inflation punishes savers. Yes, it does. If you put money into and it doesn't grow or no profit, then it's going to get you in the long run. Invest the assets to rise in value. Oil, not oil, power, water, medical, doctors, nurse, whatever. And then financial knowledge equals power. Power is financial. Money is power. When you have money, you control all situations. You can get people to do what you want them to do instead of the other way around. The freedom blueprint. We're almost wrapped up here. What you start learning right now? Well, here's what we're going to start teaching you, and you're going to see a lot of stuff, right? Not that hard, not that hard at all. We make it very simple and explain it in a very simple way. We don't use fancy terms, fancy words. We keep it real simple so that you can understand and how you can build your powerful money making business or investment portfolio. How can you use trading investing to escape the 9 to 5 trap? I usually call the 9 to 5 trap or the 8 to 4 trap a rut, meaning it's the same thing every day. You go to work, you wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch some TV, go to bed. 5 days a week, you do that. Pretty boring, isn't it? Well, you ain't going to do it under our system. You're going to be able to do whatever you want. So, entrepreneurship's an interesting word. Up until about 15 years ago, I myself personally did not know what entrepreneurship was, but I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been a problem solver. I've always made myself money. I've had bad investments, always, everybody does, but I've always recovered from them and everything looks good. And I'm in a very comfortable situation. Trading, skill, income, investing, growth, entrepreneurship equals freedom. You got to be a problem solver. Somebody's got a problem, come right out there and make it happen. Focus on cash flow, not hours worked. Use profits to buy assets, not liabilities. Make money work for you, and you're free, man. You've got everything you need. And actually, what creates habits create financial freedom. There you go. We're just reviewing basically everything I've talked about. And I know I haven't really explained a whole lot in depth, but once we start the videos and you start watching exactly how we break everything down, then you're going to be like, wow. This is incredible. It's why didn't they teach it in school? Because they don't want you to have it in school. So just to wrap it all up, huh?
Because maybe that might be missing.
Oh, you playing on your phone? Beautiful, gorgeous hair. What would I do without it? Kill myself, I guess.
It's not nice.
Throw myself. Well, welcome, welcome. As I said in the introduction, we're going to teach you all the situations that you need to make money and to be successful, to be a possible billionaire, but for sure a millionaire. And we're going to teach you all these things you need to know. So what I want you to do is so now what do you do?